It's December 19th, 2025. We are in Lakeside, California at the Coffee with the Sheriff. We've got State Patrol, we've got Sheriff and other people here, and a very important person here. This is Lieutenant David Perkins of the Lakeside Substation, Lakeside Sheriff Department. And Merry Christmas to you, sir. And we've got a bunch of people. We can have some of your people come up too.
Yes.
Kind of tell us what's going on here today, and I'll get a little bit closer.
Hey, good morning. My name is I'm Dave Perkins, like you said, Lieutenant at Lakeside Sheriff Substation. This is our Coffee with the Community event. We wanted to get one last event in before the holiday season begins, or ends, I should say. We're doing this in partnership with the California Highway Patrol, who are our public safety partners here in Lakeside. They're responsible for most of the traffic-related concerns, and we work together well as a team, so they were nice enough to join us today. So, yeah, this is just an opportunity for us to commiserate with the community and just answer any questions they have and connect with them and see what kind of questions and issues are on their mind and tell them what we got, what programs and what stuff we have going on at the Sheriff's Office, and just to kind of keep that communication with the community going.
And Lieutenant, overhearing some of these parents and other people, guests that came by today from the community, seems to be kind of an overriding concern, a traffic issue that's with e-bikes, especially e-motorcycles, which are, I'm not sure how fast they can go, but I know they can go pretty fast because I think everyone who drives a car has experienced this. Kind of talk to us about, it's Class 1, Class 2, Class 3, and we're talking about e-motorcycles and also people who are driving unsafely, no helmets. Can you kind of tell us the law on the e-motorcycles and what your authority is, and then work backwards to the E2, Class 2, Class 1?
Yeah. So yeah, like everything else in the world, with time comes new problems, and with the invention of e-bikes, this is now something we never had to deal with. Every year that goes by, e-bikes become more and more popular, so we see more and more of them on the street. I'm not against, no one in law enforcement against e-bikes. I personally have several e-bikes that I love. The problem comes with, when they're not used safely, or they're illegal e-bikes that go too fast or unsafe. But yes, like you mentioned, in California, there's 3 classes of e-bikes. I don't have the statute in front of me, but essentially, the Class 1 and Class 2 and Class 3, it all depends on how fast they can go and whether they attain that speed by pedal or by a throttle mechanism. So depending on what class they are, it depends on how fast they can go and what kind of mechanism they have, if that makes sense. So the ones that are concerned are the ones that are illegal. Those are the ones that typically exceed the speed. I believe the max speed by law is 22 miles an hour, I believe. Don't quote me on that, with a throttle. Or without a throttle, I believe the max speed via pedals is like 28 miles an hour. The concern are the ones that are off the charts that don't even match that. They can go up to something go up to 60, 70 miles an hour with a throttle, which is extremely dangerous, especially if you have someone, whether a juvenile, but especially a juvenile or adult that isn't an experienced rider riding these things. They can get out of control, they can go too fast. With these electric motors, they have a huge amount of torque. They accelerate extremely rapidly, and sometimes people can't handle that rapid acceleration. So it's very dangerous, and those are the ones we're mainly concerned about, the ones that are illegal, that are just unsafe because of how fast they can go. So, with anything new, the Sheriff's Office, as well as California Highway Patrol, and all our San Diego County law enforcement agencies, before we try to take any enforcement, we try to educate, and we've been putting out a lot of education for the last several years as far as what's legal, what's not illegal. But typically, you're going to see more of an enforcement stance when we see the illegal bikes on the street. The ones I told you about that are kind of known as like e-motorcycles, the ones that go extremely fast, they're not even legal to be on the street at all. So once they're on the street, they're subject to being towed and you're subject to being ticketed. Those are more designed for not public streets, like off-road uses. So once we see those on the street, we definitely are going to try to make a contact and and educate, enforce, and/or educate. A lot of the problem starts at home. These things are typically for the juveniles are bought bought by parents because the juveniles aren't the ones that have the money, and the parents typically buy them. They cost a lot of money, and the parents should just be aware of the dangers involved and the possible ramifications. But like I said, we want to work with the parents and hopefully make this not be a problem before it becomes a problem, if that makes sense.
So with the Class 1 and Class 2, can you briefly tell me what the state law is? With Class 1, Class 2, if you're under a certain age, do they require a helmet, sir?
Always.
Or not?
Yeah, any juvenile is required to have a helmet, but I can actually grab one of my CHP partners. He can give me the ins and outs of the law and just make sure I'm right. Yes, sure.
Patrol here.
So, my partner, Officer Abel. So, he was asking me level 1, level 2. I'm not an expert. Sure. I was talking about, I think level 2 is 22 miles an hour.
Thank you.
With a throttle.
Yeah, so the level 1 is going to be your pedal assisted, no battery. Your 2 is going to be up to 20 miles per hour.
20 miles.
So pedal assist up to 20 miles per hour with a battery pack. That's going to be the most common one that you see.
And that can have a throttle too, right?
Yep. It's assisted. Then you get the big difference between level 2 and level 3 is going to be going up to 28 miles per hour. That's when you get to the Class 3.
And that has to be pedal assist only. Right?
That'll be pedal assist as well, yes.
But no throttle, right? For the level 3?
There will be throttle, but you have to have the capability of having the pedals take over. That's what classifies the bicycle.
Got it. But getting up to 28 has to be with the pedals, correct?
Yes.
So his question, and I didn't know the specific answer to, obviously juvies have to have helmets when they ride.
Yes.
But with e-bikes, is there a law for adults? I don't think there is. Or is there?
So the Class 3, when you go up to 28 miles per hour, you have to be at least 16.
Okay.
So
for the Class 2.
For the Class 2, under 18 wears helmets. Helmets, obviously should be for all the time.
Correct.
But for Class 2, under the age of 18, but the Class 3 cannot be operated under age of 16.
Got it. So, are there any laws regarding? Obviously, adults have to wear helmets when they're in motorcycles.
Yes.
For e-bikes, are they mandated to wear helmets? Adults.
So with the e-bikes are not, because they're considered a bicycle. So the same rules apply as if you're on a bicycle. However, there's a lot of confusion on the difference between an e-bike and an e-motorcycle.
Right.
You'll see some of the bikes that do not have the pedals.
Right.
Those would be considered a motorcycle, but you do need to have a motorcycle license.
Okay.
And yes, you would be required to have a helmet.
So we were talking about those. Those are what we see a lot with the juvies.
Yep.
They go. I told them probably some of them go up to 60, 70 miles an hour.
Absolutely.
So besides the fact they're not street legal at all, correct? Or are they?
Well, with the e-motorcycles, they're required to be registered.
Okay.
A motorcycle has to be registered with the DMV. You have to have a Class C license and an M1 endorsement.
Got it.
However, a lot of these motorcycles don't have a vehicle identification number or VIN number. They have serial numbers, which means they can't be registered, which means they're only able to be used off-highway only. However, they're getting these motorcycles and driving them on highway, which yes.
And what I explained to him is the juveniles that we typically see, that typically the ones they're riding are not street legal.
Yes.
And typically a hint would be if you don't see a license, because if you see a license, they're probably going to be illegal, correct?
Yeah, and the big thing with those is pedals. If you don't see the pedals, sometimes they just have the foot pegs.
Correct.
That's a good distinction between a bicycle and a motorcycle.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I've heard there's some kits that make it look like they have pedals.
There are some, yes, there are some tricky ones. They do kind of add some stuff on there, but yes, you can generally tell most of those they comfortably drive about 30 miles per hour on these highways, and you can tell, yes, that's not a bicycle. That's going to be considered a
So I have a question on state patrol.
Yeah.
If I heard this right, with an e-motorcycle, because they don't necessarily have a VIN, they have serial number. Is that what you said?
Yes.
So they can't register them.
Yes.
But on the other hand, if they're driving and on the roads, are they required to have insurance? Is that
So if you're gonna, yep. So if you're gonna operate a motor vehicle on the roadway, that includes a motorcycle. It has to be registered and it would have to be insured. With a lot of these e-motorcycles, since they cannot be registered, they're usually not insured, and usually the riders are not licensed. So, like I was telling the lieutenant, a lot of the e-motorcycles, they have the serial number, not a VIN number, so the DMV won't be able to register them, which means they usually aren't insured, and the riders are usually unlicensed.
so? in a way, they're really avoiding any taxes, right? The DMV. I mean, really, if they don't need a license,
My belief.
legally, you have to have a motorcycle endorsement, right?
Yes, absolutely. On the ones that exceed 30 miles per hour.
Right, which
So
is
you
a
have
lot.
ones that go up to 30 miles per hour, which would require an M2 endorsement. But the ones like Lieutenant was talking about that can go clear up to 65 miles per hour, those do require M1 endorsement.
So do you think the state will eventually, the state of California will, and DMV and the laws will change where if this is an electric motorcycle and it can go at the speed that the gentleman talked about and that all of us have witnessed and some of the people here are talking about, are they going to start putting bins on these or having some type of law to make sure that if you're on the roadway, you want to be licensed, you should have insurance because you could hit me. Okay, let's say there's a scenario where a e-motorcycle hits me, I'm at a stoplight, he blows it, and the side swipes, he gets into my side, right? It's the car on the side. He doesn't have a license, he doesn't have insurance because he doesn't have to, right? Right. So it's all on me and my insurance then.
To kind of go back to with the DMV, will they soon, or will these companies soon put VIN numbers on? Electric motorcycles are a thing right now. So there are companies that do have fully electric motorcycles that have VIN numbers that are capable on being on the highways. It's a lot of what we're seeing are a lot of these imports from other countries that are kind of designed to be more of a toy than a highway use. And a lot of these companies do put for off-highway use only. They do have disclaimers not to be used on a highway. Check with your local regulations. In California, that's one of our regulations. So a lot of I do believe that these companies will still produce e-motorcycles as we identify them without VIN numbers. But electric motorcycles are a real thing. They are done by companies like Honda and Yamaha. It's not abnormal, but what we're seeing on the streets by young kids are more just kind of fun toys that have the capability of doing high speeds like electric motorcycles. Now, to your question on, say if you get into a traffic collision with an item like that, it would be identified as someone who's operating a motor vehicle without a license and without insurance. So we would take a report or take enforcement actions for such things. Someone who's riding without a license, someone who is not insured, and that's how we would go about that.
Can I ask you a question that I think people want to know for education? We talked about, I told him, when we see these ones that are not street legal, we have the ability to tow them right away from the street. Now, I also explained this part starts a lot with the juveniles at home because the parents are the ones buying these things.
Yes.
Besides the consequence of the parents of if we tow the motorcycle, the expense of them and all that, are there any other sanctions that are specifically parents can have as far as citations or anything for allowing their children to ride these kind of things? There are some things. If it's hard with the toys that are unregistered. In a normal situation, if there's a vehicle, say if a juvenile's driving a vehicle that is registered in the parents' information, and they're stopped for a violation of that, the car's unregistered or late, you would then cite the owner of that. With these bicycles, electric bicycles, they're a little bit harder. So generally, the parent can show up and we can. It's at the officer's discretion, but the vehicle code allows us to store and impound a vehicle due to someone not having a license to drive that vehicle, so they would not be able to ride it away from an enforcement stop, and also for it being an unregistered vehicle without any proof of registration in progress. So those are the types of things, and then it can be worked out with the parents on the back end, but it's at the officer's discretion on what they want to do. Usually the parents are nearby, show up, and the officer can have a conversation. Yes, education.
Absolutely.
So if under the circumstance where the unregistered motorcycle gets towed, I'm talking about the one without a VIN.
Yes.
Do the parents, and it's taken to a tow yard, do the parents have the ability to get it out? Obviously they have to pay storage fees, or what are their options then?
Yeah, so it depends on what authority was used. There is an authority that allows us to take a vehicle if it hasn't been registered within 6 months. It allows us to hold the vehicle until registration can be done. done. Well, in these instances, registration can't be done, so it's basically we can't release a vehicle until then. Like I said, it's officer's discretion, but most likely you'll see kind of stored. The parent can go and get the vehicle out. Say, hey, I'm the owner of it. Pay the storage fees. Yep. And then hopefully a lesson learned. We don't want to go through this trouble again. These things are meant for not highway use, for the element of safety and the process of going through.
I do think I know the answer, but I'll ask you. Do you have the ability with DMV to request a VIN for something that doesn't have a VIN?
There is an option that you can go through with our CHP offices. Say a vehicle that's in change of title or a VIN inspection, you can go to your local CHP office, and they actually have a VIN officer that can do an inspection and assign a VIN to that vehicle for them to be then taken to the DMV.
Would that apply to even some of these bikes, or would it have to be something that's like approved by DOT?
That's going to be something beyond my knowledge. I'm not too familiar with that. I think there's some elements that need to be made for it to be allowed to have a VIN. But I can't answer that.
So as we said, it's an evolving, like anything in life. It's things evolve and laws get created.
And with the sheriff and the state patrol, this has been extraordinary helpful. And I hope that when parents see this, they truly have an understanding, because there seems to be, and I've been on different committees and other hearings and so forth locally on e-bikes. We love e-bikes, or no, we don't like e-bikes, or no, we got to have the motorcycles. How do we negotiate that on the roadway if we're a good driver in a car or we're on a motorcycle? So this has been extraordinary and helpful from both of you representing the San Diego County Sheriff's Department and, of course, the State Patrol, the local division here. Does any other comments before?
Yeah, like I said, we're both on the same page. We are very busy providing public safety, and ultimately, at the end of the day, we want compliance, we want education. We don't want people to get tickets. We want people to be safe, because we have had fatalities on these e-bikes, and we never want to see a juvenile or adult or anybody lose their life or get seriously injured. So that's the end goal. Like, e-bikes are great, and like I said, I have several, and they serve a purpose, but we just got to make sure we follow the laws, we do it safe, and that's the ultimate goal.
Thank you, Sheriff, and thank you, State Patrol.
Absolutely.